Have you ever opened your photo library and thought, "Oh, where the heck is that image?" Or found your photos scattered everywhere? On the desktop, downloads folder, a few on an external hard drive, and maybe 3 different folders called Final Selection. Yep, I've been there too. When I started, my photos were all over the place, a total mess. And after over 10 years of working with photographers during my workshops, I've seen the same struggle over and over. So no clear workflow, no structure, and edits gone missing after moving folders. That's why I'm really excited to share this Capture One full course with you. This was originally my paid course, and today I'm making it completely free here on YouTube. By the end of the course, you'll be able to set up your Capture One catalog from scratch and finally understand how it works. Import your photos confidently without losing files or duplicates. Move and organize your shots between drives without breaking links or edits. Then build a reliable folder and metadata structure that keeps everything consistent. And finally creates a fast, searchable image library so you can find any photo in seconds. If you have struggled with this, you are in the right place. You don't need any prior knowledge of Capture One to get started. I will explain everything step by step in simple terms so you can build a solid foundation. Alright, let's get into it. Before diving into catalog creation and catalog management, if you are not very familiar with cataloging software, I want to quickly explain what is a catalog. Believe it or not, a lot of people get confused just about understanding what this term applied to photography means. The catalog is the place where Capture One will store links to your photos, previews of your photos, and all the developing info you do to your photos along the way. It's just a database. Your photos are not actually stored in the catalog, they are stored on your hard drive. At any time, you can go and find the photos on your hard drive. If you are unaware of what are previews, they are just smaller versions, JPEG essentially, of every single photo that you import into your catalog. The reason being is that makes browsing through collections of photos in Capture One faster. The response is nice and snappy, and you don't have to wait for Capture One to go and look for the raw file and read the data on the raw file image. So it's really about performance, plus some other benefits too. Another aspect to keep in mind, Capture One is non-destructive, so that means you never change the raw file. You never edited the data in the raw file. So every single adjustment you make is going to be stored in the catalog database as a sort of a group of instructions that it's showing you how an image is going to look in Capture One. Put it this way, you know the music playlists. Now think of a catalog as an infinite playlist manager. For example, think about services like Spotify or Apple Music. The actual songs reside in a huge drive in the cloud, and they are linked to the artist page. Then, by using the playlist, you can link and organize the same songs into many different playlists sorted by genre, year, mood, theme, and so on. So we can listen to the same song as part of different playlists like in this example, right? Your Capture One catalog can be stored anywhere on your computer or even on an external drive. If you store it on an external drive, that drive will need to be plugged in when you want to use Capture One. The only thing that really matters is that Capture One and you know where it is. I've been using Capture One for almost a decade now, and I have only ever used one single catalog. I highly recommend you to keep just one catalog too and utilize Capture One albums and other powerful tools like keywords, something that we are going to get through in the following lessons, to keep your personal and professional images separated and organized. So you have one database that knows where all your files are. All my work images and family images are stored in one catalog. The main reasons I choose to do this is that I think it's frustrating to go between 2 or more catalogs. Actually, there is no limit on the number of photos you can have in your Capture One catalog. I have 10 of thousands of photos in my single catalog and it still runs perfectly. Of course, if you wish, you can have as many different catalogs as you want if that works best for your workflow. Capture One accepts images from many different sources, SD memory cards, from external hard drives connected, from the computer itself, from another catalog or sessions. So in the next lessons, while we won't cover all sources, we will learn the most common import scenarios that I find most useful for the majority of users and for getting started with cataloging. So here is what we've got. To start, you need a computer with Capture One installed. In this video, I'm going to use the Mac version of Capture One, but for Windows users, you can easily follow every single step. An SD card reader, if you don't have an integrated SD slot on your computer, and an external hard drive where we are going to store our images. Using an external hard drive to store images, your life will be much easier. I highly recommend using it to store just your images because as your library grows, you can get bigger and bigger hard drives. That's all you need, okay? Now it's time to create your first new catalog, and that's gonna be in the next lesson. Our goal is to fully automate the system so everything just kind of falls into place. And the first step in our process is getting images into the application, right? But before importing them, you need to have a catalog. So just right off the bat, we are going to start by creating a new catalog from scratch. And for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to suggest you do the same thing. I'm assuming you have Capture One already installed on your computer, right? So how do we do that? I'm going to launch Capture One, and let's start by coming up to File, and you just go to New Catalog. This is the first step in building a solid and very efficient editing workflow. Now, our new catalog is going to want a name, so let's call this Andrea Livieri catalog. You can call it whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. By default, the catalog will be created in the Pictures folder. You can put it whatever you want, but my suggestion is to create a safe, dedicated folder named, for example, Capture One Catalog. I would avoid using the system default folders like Pictures or Documents to put the catalog database. I don't want to take any risk of deleting it accidentally while I'm moving files from those folders. So ideally, we want our catalog database to be in the fastest, most accessible, high-performing place that you can put in. Now, generally, that's the internal drive of the computer that you are working on. If you use an SSD external hard drive, you can consider saving also the catalog there. But catalog and images don't have to live in the same location. So we're going to click on these three dots and then navigate to the particular folder you like. I'm going to save it in the main user folder on my Mac into the new Capture One catalog subfolder. So now I click OK, and here we have our first catalog. Let's have a quick look at the Finder. Here is the folder we selected and the destination folder for our catalog. And this is the actual catalog database where all the information about the images will be stored. This is your home base. This is the foundation of your workflow. If for some reason, at some point, you don't remember in which folder put your catalog, with right-click over here in the catalog name, you can see the full path where your catalog database resides, right? Awesome. Okay, see you in the next lesson to learn to import your images. For importing your photos, ask yourself, how do I want to store my images? Many photographers that I've spoken to, they either want to store them by location or by events or subjects, right? You may also want to have a folder for your client's shots, another for the family shots, and another one for your friend shots. But let's say I want to organize a group of images I shot during a trip to Iceland. But I was also leading a workshop. So now, where does that go? Does that go in my location folder? Does that go in the workshop folder? And what if I brought one of my family members with me? So here is the deal. If you have to ask yourself where the images go, you have already failed because you have to choose. That means it's not going to be consistent anymore and the whole thing falls apart instantly. What we're going to set up is an actual workflow where you don't have to choose, an automated process that just goes completely consistent and where you don't have to think about it. Here is where Capture One is enormously powerful, and it gives you different options and all the tools you need to set up a reliable, efficient and automated system to manage your entire photo archive. Let's bring some pictures into the application right now. I just created a folder with some random subfolders where I stuck a whole bunch of random pictures in there from different days and from different shoots. And I put it on an external hard drive connected to my Mac. And this probably starts to sound a little bit familiar to you, right? Everything I'm showing you in this lesson is going to be fully automated. So any setting that we choose in the import panel is going to stay there. So it wouldn't change unless we changed it intentionally. As I said before, Everything that you have to do more than once, it's a terrible workflow. There are several ways that you can input your files, but I found that the easiest way to do it is simply to find your pictures where they are and just drag them right on top of the Capture One viewer area. Now, we are going to select our example folder and we are going to drag it right onto Capture One. And it's automatically gonna open this window, which is our import dialog box. Okay, so here we are. This is the import dialog box. Capture One has a very structured architecture and design. We have a number of areas here with several options that need to be addressed. On the upper left-hand corner, we have import from, our source where images are coming from, the SD memory card, an external hard drive, and so on. This is the regular place where you want to select the source folder from where to import your images. So now we have to preview them and select which images we want to import. Let's say we want to select them all. We're going to tick this pick all checkbox. There are a couple of useful functions here I want to highlight. This slider up here that allows you to increase or decrease the size of the thumbnails. And another interesting one function is this icon that shows or hides the large preview. It's pretty handy for a closer image review if we are not sure about some specific shots. So next, destination. Now this is critical. This really is foundational to the entire thing. Where do I put my images, right? How do I store them? That should be automated. So how do we automate this? The only way we can automate this so that it's accurate and is consistent every single time is by date. So the import to area is where we define where our images are going to reside once the application acknowledges them. So we're going to select the option copy to folder. In this way, our images on the desktop will be copied to this destination folder on the external hard drive. And from here, we are going to create the new main folder that we will call Photo Archive. Click Create, and then select as Import Folder. That's where I'm going to place the images. Before moving to the next area, we are going to tick the option Include Subfolders, which is useful for locating all the images on a memory card or other source folders, and always select Exclude Duplicates, which determines if a source images file is a duplicate of another one that is already in the catalog. This feature is quite handy, especially when imported from memory cards that haven't been erased or formatted yet. The previously imported images remain on the card will be excluded from the import process, preventing unnecessary duplications. Now we have to define the folder structure. And to do that, we need to use tokens. Tokens basically extract some form of metadata from the photo or from Capture One to create a folder. In this case, we are going to set tokens in a way to split our imported images into individual subfolders by date. The hierarchy we are going to choose to sort the images is by year, month, and the actual image date. So Capture One basically looks at the photo, at its being imported, checks what the date is, creates a folder for the year, a subfolder for the month, then creates an extra subfolders of the actual date and put the photo in there. So just do all that automatically and consistently. To create this kind of hierarchy, we need to select the image year token in 4 digits. Then we need to add a / to select the next level folder. Let's go ahead by adding the image month in 2 digits, and then we need to put the tokens for the actual full date folder. So again, we're going to select image year in 4 digits, dash, image month, dash, and image date of month. Here below we can see how the folder structure will be. I recommend saving this configuration as a custom preset by selecting Save User Presets and naming the preset as you like. I personally don't use the Backup to option in Capture One. I like to backup only the selected images rather than all the shots straight out from the SD. This tool creates a simultaneous copy of the imported images as a backup, so you can import your images from an SD card to the Photo Archive folder, and an exact copy is simultaneously backed up to a connected portable external drive. Next tab, naming. There are many options to name your files in the naming tab, or you can just let Capture One use the camera's file system. You can get quite creative actually by using Capture One's tokens in your naming regime, or using text or any combination of the two. For example, you could format the file names with any of the dozens of metadata tokens that the camera supplies. I usually prefer to go with the standard naming convention. I always leave image name, but if you want to rename your files again, you can use tokens. Let me show you quickly how to customize the naming. It's pretty easy. For example, we may want to name each file with Iceland, the data of the image, and a progressive number. Let's do it. We're going to put it in the job name, Iceland. Then we are going to select the three dots here, select the token, job name, dash image date, dash, and the 4-digit counter. Click OK, and here you are. Make sure to reset the counter by selecting these three dots and clicking on Reset Import Counter. On the Metadata tab, we are going to add the copyright, so you will put your name. We will leave actually the other models alone, and we are now ready to select Import. The file import goes quickly and all the images are available right away as others are still loading. All the images imported to the catalog by default arrive in the catalog collections recent imports. Catalog collections are not actual folders, just placeholders. They help you to quickly see all images from a recent import. Now, we are ready to selecting, rating, labeling, and organizing the images in many beautiful and sophisticated ways. But before going deeper into the photo organization, we must first see how to import images from an SD memory card. And I want to show you also an additional method to link your images to the catalog. Great. See you in the next lesson. To import your images from an SD memory card, the process is ridiculously simple, and everything we discussed in the previous lesson also applies to it. Okay, here we have got a memory card sitting in the card reader slot, so straight away you can see the import dialog has popped up and it's showing us the images in the card. And from now on, you don't need to touch any of the previous settings. Everything has to be consistent and you are basically good to go. Now select Import All, and you can see Capture One is populating our main photo archive with the new images from the SD card, all sorted by year, month, and date. Sweet. There's an additional method, though, to link images to the catalog, and I'm referring to the Add to Catalog function that you can find here in the Import To section. What does that actually mean? So that means Capture One is gonna reference those photos that are in their location. We are not going to move them. We are not going to copy them. We are not going to do anything else. Capture One will just know where to find them, and that will be added to the catalog. So this is a nice option if you have already got an organization structure on your hard drive and you just want Capture One to see that, then you can do so. So Capture One doesn't have to move anything around. Let me show you an example. Here we have a folder with a bunch of subfolders with some images. Instead of importing them using Copy to Catalog, in the Import section we are going to use Add to Catalog. So let's select the Import All. As you can see, the import process is quicker since Capture One doesn't need to make a copy of the files. But the crucial difference is that these images don't reside in our main hard drive, but they are just linked to the catalog from the original location folder. If we move over one of the images, right-click and select Show in Finder, we can clearly see that the thumbnail points to the original location. This is the main difference between Copy to Catalog and Add to Catalog. They are both useful, but you have to be aware of how the two work. So let's talk about moving images and folders around. Let's say you want to move some images from a folder to a new folder. So you could be tempted to go into the Finder. Let's just find this location, right-click and say Show in Finder. This is the actual folder where images reside. And here I could start dragging pictures around in the Finder, but don't do that. Capture One is actually not a file browser. It's not constantly monitoring the folders and collections that are present in your catalog. So it's not always scanning and looking because that would be a huge performance detriment, especially with big catalogs. So you shouldn't start dragging folders or images around in the Finder. You should do all of that inside the Library Tool tab in Capture One, which is super simple and will save you a whole bunch of time. Just go to the Folders area, then click on the image or folder you want to move and drag it to the folder you prefer, like so. You get a warning that says the selected image will be moved, so it's physically moved on the disk. Select Move, and now we can find the pictures there. The folders area in Capture One lists your folders mirroring the Finder layout, and the number of files in each folder is listed right here. It's very different from these other two areas, catalog collections and user collections, which are virtual. In other words, you can move folders or images around from one album to another, and it doesn't change the actual location of the images. The folders area represents where the master images actually reside. So when you move folders or images around, you are literally changing their physical location inside a hard drive. Anyway, occasionally and even accidentally, you can make changes behind Capture One's back, so to speak, that it doesn't really know to exist. In those cases, what can happen is you can have photos and certain locations that Capture One doesn't even know about. So what you need to do is synchronize the folder. And now I want to talk about how you can do that really easily and really quickly. So, for example, you can see on my external hard drive, I have this folder of images called drone shots. And here is my main photos folder. If I drag this one into this folder and then go back to Capture One, I'm not going to see the drone shots folder, since it doesn't know that exists. It doesn't know that I made an adjustment behind Capture One's back, so to speak. So if ever you need to just double check or correct a mistake, what you can do is right click or control click on this folder. In this contextual menu, what we are looking for is the option to synchronize the folder. So go ahead and click on that. It will open up a dialog saying that it found a bunch of photos that aren't in this folder. What you want to do is import these new pictures. So go ahead and click sync. And then what will happen is it's going to bring in those photos. It's also going to bring in that folder name for me, and what we'll be able to see is that we now have this particular location with these photographs that I hadn't brought in. So it basically corrected any issue that I had. So whenever something like that happens, just keep in mind you can always right click or control click on a folder name, choose synchronize, and Capture One will scan for anything that's different. And then you can click sync. If you didn't find anything, no big deal, just hit cancel and move on your way. If you like, you can tick the Show Imported checkbox to review what images are you going to import and make a selection. Another common scenario is when you move or rename an already indexed folder or image outside Capture One. When images are added to a Capture One catalog, the location of those images is tracked while adjustments and metadata remain within the catalog. So, when images and folders are moved within Capture One, the links between the catalog and the images remain intact, and no issues arise. But if you move or rename images or folders outside of Capture One using the Finder, Explorer, or other application, the link breaks. This causes images to show as offline because Capture One no longer knows where those images are. Anyway, the actual process of reconnecting offline folders or subfolders is fairly easy. Capture One provides a handy function called locate that helps to relocate offline folders or individual images. Let's see an example. We are in the Finder and we have this folder with a bunch of images. Now, we're going to move this entire folder to another location. And as you can see, almost instantly, Capture One can't recognize anymore the physical location of that folder, and we have got this offline badge here next to the folder and all the images contained in that folder. So, to make Capture One aware of that folder again, we need to relink it. To do that, we just need to go over the specific folder in the Folders module, right-click, and select Locate. Now we need to point to the new location of the missing folder and click Open. And it's done. The folder is now relinked correctly to the catalog. To relink the offline images, it's the same process. Let's say we rename these images in the Finder. Like before, the offline badge pops up and Capture One no longer recognizes the picture. Again, what we want to do is to go over that image, right-click and locate. And then select the raw file with a new naming. At this point, you get a warning that says the selected file has a different name than the original file. Do you want to use the selected file anyway? So confirm. And here we are. We correctly relinked the image. In general, you should try to perform all file operations within Capture One. However, if you accidentally messed up with moving or renaming files and folders outside Capture One, this is a pretty easy fix. You have a couple of options when you need to delete images in Capture One. You have this area that we call the catalog trash. It's in the catalog collection area. This is kind of the limbo of your semi-deleted images. That means they are no longer in the collection, the all images, nor are they in any of the projects. But let me explain to you how this whole thing works. Let's say I want to delete these two images. So let's select both and right-click. From here, we are going to select the option Delete, move to Catalog Trash. At this point, our images are still physically in our drive, but they are virtually moved to the trash folder. So if we move to the trash folder, they are here in holding and they can just stay here. Now, your catalog still has to keep track of them. You are not cleaning up any disk space by moving things to the trash. Once they need to go away, then you can come over to the trash, right-click, and then you can empty the catalog trash. At this point, you get a warning which says delete from disk or remove from catalog. With remove from catalog, the two pictures are no more linked to any collection, but they still live in the hard drive. With the delete from disk option, you are actually getting rid of them. You won't see them anymore. In all images, they are gone, and that disk space has been cleaned up. So that's the way trash works in Capture One. You can delete them from the disk right away if you want, under Image in the top menu here, or you can move them to the catalog trash, and then when you are fully confident that they need to go away, then empty the trash. This is one of my favorite practices when it comes to photo catalog organization. Once we have imported our images into the catalog, now we need a way to find them, and like everything with the least amount of effort possible. In this lesson, I want to introduce you to keywording. Keywords in Capture One are a way to describe key elements of a photograph. Keywords add a description to an image, and if done correctly when used in conjunction with filters, they are a powerful way to find specific images quickly in a large catalog. When I started out as a Capture One user, I was a keyword fanatic. I was trying to remember to keyword almost everything. Anyway, you easily end up spending a lot of time putting the keywords that you will most likely never ever look for. In this lesson, I want to show you a better and my personal streamlined method of finding images in our catalog based on how we do access them in our head without using tons of useless keywords. I call this method PEP, People, Events, Places. As we saw in the importing lesson, we store our images by date, but try to think for a moment. Think about 5 or 10 images. Think yourself in your mind, how do you remember them? How do you access them in your own head? You're not thinking about when, you are not thinking about a specific date, right? I'm pretty sure you are just thinking about the image itself. There are actually only a few words that you need to think about to find pretty much any image you ever taken. Is the picture about a person? Is the picture about an event, a trip, a workshop, or whatever? Or is the picture about a place? That's how PEP works. So who, what, and where. That's how we're going to set up our keywords, and you don't have to go any further than that. Often just 1 or 2 keywords is all we need. Okay, so let me show you how to set this up. In the Tools panel, we have got many different tabs, and the tab we want to use now is the Metadata Tool tab. This tab allows you to insert keywords and specific information in addition to the basic metadata from a camera that you can view in the Metadata tab. Keywording photos should be an important part of everyone's digital workflow in Capture One. When we add keywords to our images, those same keywords can later be used to search and find images in our Capture One catalog in a breeze, especially in large catalog. So what are keywords? Keywords are basically metadata or information in the form of words that you can add to an image file. The keyword metadata is added to your images in Capture One's metadata tab, and the simplest way to keywording is to type them into the keyword entry box in the keyword tab. Simply highlight the image you want to add keywords to and then type the words that make more sense to you to describe the photo, all separated by a comma. For example, for this image, we could add Iceland, comma, and Landmalugar as keywords and press Enter. To make the process faster, we can apply the same keywords to multiple selected images, but before doing that, always make sure the Edit All Selected function is active. If not, the keyword will be applied only to the selected shot. My favorite approach, though, is using a keyword library, which is a set of keywords that are linked together. Once you have created a keyword library, adding them is as easy as choosing the keyword library and clicking on the ones that apply to your image. The huge advantage of using a keyword library is that we can organize keywords in hierarchy to add multiple keywords to our photos at the same time. Basically, this involves placing keywords within keywords. So assigning the lowest level child keywords to an image adds all the keywords in the hierarchy. Okay, let's implement a keyword library taking advantage of the PEP method and the hierarchies. Remember, our goal is to create a workflow that serves consistency. So the first step is defining our keyword structure is absolutely important for any future catalog search and organization. First thing first, we want to create our three main keywords on which to build the keyword hierarchies. So we're going to add the keyword people, then events, and then places. These are our base keywords, okay? This is the start of what we call a hierarchy. Everything else falls inside of these three folders. Just about every image you ever taken will fall inside of one of these three categories. Now, let's look at this first group of images, right? Let's take this picture and ask yourself, what is it? Where is this place? Well, I took this place in Iceland, so the more logical thing to do is add the keyword Iceland, right? Nice. We're going to right click on places and we're going to choose create keyword child inside of places and name it Iceland. Do you see this arrow on the left hand side of places? This is what we call a nested folder structure, a hierarchy. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In defining this place, we can be more specific. This landscape is in the Icelandic Highlands, so I can add another keyword Highlands. Right-click on Iceland, create keyword child, and we are going to type Highlands. Again, we can be even more specific. This mountain is in Landmannalaugar area, so we can add the keyword Landmannalaugar. So all the highlighted keywords with the solid gray are the active keywords. And now you're going to start to see what I'm talking about. We have this hierarchy in place, right? And this can go on and on. If we wanted to add a top layer before Iceland, let's say we want to add Iceland as a child keyword of Europe, what we can do is create a new Europe keyword child in places and then drag the keyword Iceland right inside of Europe. Super easy. Hierarchical keywords can be added by separating them by greater or less than symbols. Hovering over the keywords, you get the tooltip showing the full path. An important thing to keep in mind is that each catalog has its own keyword library. If you decide to create a second or multiple catalogs and you want to use your custom keywords, you need to export the keyword library with the function export keyword library, which creates a text file. And on the new catalog, select the three dots here, select create keyword library, and then from keywords text file. The reason why keywords work so well is that you only have to enter one keyword. That's the whole point of having a hierarchy in place. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you want to find these images again, and that's the whole point of this in the first place, you don't want to have to do a lot of work, right? That's the reason why we are even doing this course. It's to show you the most amount of result for the least effort possible. We want to do everything in just 1 or 2 clicks. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select the entire folder, right? We're not going to go image by image. So hit Command A and it's going to select all the images. And now we just have to keyword it one time with one click. Before moving to the next lesson, let me show you how I actually do it for a folder so that you can follow me along with the process. Also, be aware that keyword search is case sensitive, so I highly recommend being as consistent as you can in creating your custom keywords. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to find yourself with multiple keywords with the same name, and that's a fantastic way to screw up the hierarchy organization. Reviewing and rating your images is part of the organization process. I like to do this right after I finish keywording. Capture One provides a couple of different ways to tag your images. One is the color tag method, right there. Just click on that little box and you can see we have these different color labels available to us. And then, of course, the classic star rating, which I really love, where you have 0 to 5 stars. Using groups, projects, and albums, something that we will see in the next lesson, are great ways to easily locate and keep track of images, but it's not always enough. Sometimes you need extra information or better rating or labeling to notice important details. That's where rating stars and color tags come into play. Using a combination of these tagging methods means that you can customize a rating system for your specific needs. Star rating and color tags can be used in several scenarios, and your preferences might be quite different from mine. You can use them to rate your least or most favorite images, to label images that have been processed in Capture One, or to label images you edited in Photoshop, to identify images you want to print, or to label a series of images used for exposure blending, and so on and so on. These are just some of the ways you can use star rating and color tags in Capture One. You will want to start by selecting the photos that you want to review. I usually go through the selecting process after having imported all the images into a dedicated all photos album like this. And I will show you in the next lesson how to create it together with an efficient folder organization structure. So now, I will start the review process by selecting the first image here in the browser. Here in the viewer, I can get a nice big image of each of the pictures. By viewing it in this method, I can go through the whole film strip using the arrow keys on my keyboard. As I said, there are hundreds of ways to do the selection. I usually use a basic green label to select the shots I want to keep. Actually, one feature I like to enable to speed up the selection process can be found here in the top menu under Select, Select Next When, and Color Tag. So that means when a photo gets labeled, it will automatically jump to the next shot. That doesn't make much difference if you just have a bunch of photos, but for large series with hundreds of images, it's a big time saver. Okay, after I finish flagging images, I like to take a second pass to apply star ratings. The star ratings you can use to tag your very best photos. But first I want to filter out all of the images that weren't flagged for the first pass. There is a filter module here below. You have to click on the green flag. That turns the filters on, and now all of the images that weren't flagged are hiding from the film strip. They are still there. If we click on the checkbox over here, all the images come back. If we turn the filters on, we are seeing just the images with the color tag, and now we can go back through the whole set of the selected shots and apply star ratings. At this point, I just give it a 5-star with the 5 on my keyboard, but that's up to you. Maybe you have got a system where you use different numbers depending on what you are looking for. You can completely customize it for yourself. So I will just start a couple of these images quickly going through using my right arrow key. And now I can filter this down even further by adding the 5-star to the filter. So now we see only the images that were labeled and star and ready to be edited. There are lots of options here for tagging your photos. Customize a rating system for yourself and then stick with it. Taking the time to review and rate your images right after they are imported will help you find the best photos to edit when you move forward in the workflow. Now we are ready to discover how to set up an efficient virtual folder structure to organize our images and take advantage of the rating process we just learned. See you in the next lesson. Capture One implemented an excellent system to organize images. It's put together a toolset that can make it easier to keep track of your photos with beautiful automation functions. As you can see here, we have the catalog collection area where we have all images in the catalog and the recent imports, that's where the images go when we bring them in. But they are not organized at all. So right below the catalog collection, we have got the user collections, and this is the area that we get to control. A collection is a visual folder that exists only inside of Capture One catalog. You can use collection to group photos from different folders without actually moving or duplicating them, and photos can belong to multiple collections as well, providing lots of flexibility for organizing your catalog. It's all about the hierarchy. There are 4 different options in Capture One's user collections that can help sort your images: groups, projects, albums, and smart albums. Groups can't hold images, but they can control projects and albums. Groups can also be nested within each other, which is very handy. Groups help you organize your collections, and they come in really handy if you have a dozen and dozen of collections. As you can see, there are some groups set already here. I've already set up a few groups by using the same approach we used for keywords. So we have 3 different categories: people, events, and places. As I've done here, we can add a group inside of another group, so you can nest your groups inside of each other. You can't do that with projects and albums, only with groups. To create a group, project, or album, we go to the library panel, and next to the user collections, we see this plus. I click on the plus and then create a group, project, album, or smart album. So let's create a group called Norway here on places, and I could just simply drag and drop the group Norway into my Europe group. And imagine you have a lot of collection albums and it just filled all the way up. I can collapse this down to have it look more organized and make it easier to find images. So groups are a great tool to organize your catalog. Projects can't hold any individual images or other projects, but you can nest groups, albums, and smart albums. Projects are super useful to limit the search to only albums inside that project, and I will show you in a sec how these work. Albums are exactly what you would think they are. They hold your photos. And lastly, smart albums can display photos based on specific criteria and can be nested inside of groups and projects. If they are inside a group, they search from your entire catalog, but if they are inside a project, they only work with images that are a part of that particular project. That's the crucial difference in combining smart albums with projects. I will show this in a moment. So here we have the foundational structure. There are the 3 groups. Inside the groups, I put some projects, and then inside the projects, we have albums. This is the basic hierarchy of organizing in a user collection. Let's take our recent import and let's do a little organizing. Here we have some images from the Dolomites, so we can put them in events. We'll go up to the plus and we are going to create a new project inside the group workshops. We're going to call it Dolomites Winter 2022. Make sure to be descriptive and consistent with your collection naming convention. It's really important to keep everything well organized. As we have already seen, we can't put images inside the project, so I always like to start by creating an all photos album that contains all the images I shot during that trip. So I click on the workshop folder, go back to the plus icon right here, and now let's create a new album called All Photos. Here we are. So all photos is our starting point. Now let's select all the images from the last import. Command A to select them all, and we are just going to drag them into all photos right here. The next folder I like to have is the Pics album, where I'll put just the images I picked up as great shots, but I'm still not sure which of them I'm going to edit. And then the last one is the selected album with just the hero shots I decided to edit. For the pics and selected albums, I use smart albums. Smart albums are very handy for creating collection of images that meet a specific set of conditions. Capture One keeps track of a ton of metadata for your photos, so there is an almost unlimited number of options when creating a smart album. Here I already created a few smart albums, and as you can notice, there is this gear icon on the collection. And that lets us know that that's a smart album. So here is one way to use it. For example, let me show you how how to set up two different types of smart albums so that you might find helpful. So to create a smart album, we right-click on the plus next to the user collections or right-click over the Dolomites Winter 2022 project, and this time we will choose Smart Album inside Dolomites Winter 2022. So now we will create a smart album of all the images in the project that I have a green color tag that I use for a rough selection of the images I want to keep for potential future edits. Now at the top, I'm just giving the collection a name so that I know what the content are, and then we will come down to what the metadata criteria are. We're going to click to the plus icon here to add a new search rule. As we saw in the previous lesson about rating and labeling, to identify the images I like from a series, I apply a green color tag. So the first option we want to have here is that we are going to match the color tag if it's equal to green. And then we would say OK, and almost instantly we have a collection with all the images labeled with a green tag. So based on the metadata of color tagging, that smart album is automatically populated. For the selected album, I apply the same technique. As you can see, I applied a search criteria to group all the images in the project rated with 5 stars. These are just the images I want to edit, so the future final product. Let's do this one more time with a keyword. I like to create smart albums for multiple uses. For example, all the edited photos of a specific place. Let's say I want to dynamically group all the edited shots from the Dolomites despite the workshop trip or the year they have been taken. Let's create a smart album for the shots we added a Dolomites keyword to in the keywording lesson. So we are going to name the smart albums Dolomites under the group folder Italy. And then down here, we want to find the keyword. So we have to click plus, and this is where we find all the different types of metadata that we could build a smart album on. And we are going to come down to the one that says keywords. So if the keyword contains, and this is where we put the keyword. So the keyword has to have been applied in the catalog someplace for this to work. Then, as we want just the edited version, we need to add an extra rule by adding the 5 stars rating we used before to identify the final product. So we're going to click plus, rating, and equals 5. And then I'll say OK, and here we are. Here we've got all the edited shots about the Dolomites. Be aware that since smart albums automatically populate, you can't manually move or add photos to them. The only way to change the content of a smart album is to edit the criteria for the smart album or edit the metadata in the image. I can manually move images between collections only with regular albums. For example, let's say we have 2 standard albums with some images inside. Lastly, as I mentioned before, smart albums behave differently based on where they reside, inside a project or outside a project. Let's make an example to show you what the difference is. I'm going to create a new smart album in events with a simple 5-star rating criteria active. And as you can see, this smart album is searching for all of every photo in the user collection folder. Whereas if I move the same smart album inside the Dolomites project, it picks up the images rated with 5 stars, but related just to the Dolomites Summer 2021 project. Or if I move it into the Tuscany project, we are limiting the search only to the Tuscany photos. So the smart album is limited to what's inside the project. That's the crucial difference between a project and a group. The project limits the search scope of the smart albums. This is a great way to have all the photos of a specific location, event, or person collected together automatically. And if you're smart about the way you set up your smart albums, you should be able to find the images that you need quickly at any time. So this is the basic organization method that I use inside of user collections. Photos contain a lot of metadata, and you can use this metadata information to filter and search a selection of images using the Filters module in the Library Tool tab. I've selected all images in the Catalog Collection section, so I can use the Filters module to search through all of the photos in my catalog. That's how I usually use filters to search through my entire catalog for something that I'm trying to find. The filters module is very powerful, where we have many filtering options like rating, color tag, keywords, and many others you can activate by going over the 3 dots, show, hide filters, and choosing the metadata that accommodates your needs. And moreover, you can stack these up to narrow the selection. This is a nice function to filter your images out in a very efficient way. So let's take a look at how we can search for photos using this. Let's say you want to search for the best hero shots in your entire catalog without having to go through each folder one at a time looking for them. With the filters bar, I can filter by the keyword workshops to see every photo in that group and then filter further by holding down Option and selecting the 5-star rating. And here we are, all our edited hero shots. So I really needed 2 filters metadata for that. If you want to be even more specific, you can add an extra criteria, let's say Iceland Summer 2021. So now we have only the hero shots in workshops and Iceland Summer 2021. Capture One allows you to create a smart album based on filters. Let's say we want to create a dedicated smart album for all the hero shots taken with a specific lens. For example, my beloved Fujifilm 50-140. So what we need to do is first we are going to go to all images, then we need to select the criterion, so the 5-star rating that identifies the hero shots, and then the camera lens Fujifilm 50-140, right? Now we can convert this to a collection like a smart album or an album. So in the search bar to the right there are 3 little orange dots. If you click that, a dialog box pop up, and in the active filter area, Capture One already set up the criteria for sorting the images. So now, down here I can say Create Smart Album. We're going to call this Fujifilm 50-140 Best Shots and click Save. To stay always organized, we can create a group called Global Smart Albums and drag the new smart album inside it. And here we've got all the best shots captured with Fujifilm 50-140 in our catalog. And this folder will be populated dynamically every time we add new hero shots taken with that lens. For example, let's just add a 5-star rating to some other photos like this. If I go back to our smart album, all the new shots selected popped up nicely. This is a way to sort and organize images I like quite a lot. With all the options available in the Filters module, you should be able to find and filter just about anything quickly like this, especially if you took the time to keyword and rate your images right after importing them. Alright, see you in the next lesson. An aspect many photographers don't make too much attention to is backing up their catalog. We spend a lot of time and energy on organizing and editing our images. It's a great amount of work, so we want to make sure our main catalog is safe. Now, if you come down to File and you go down here and select Backup Catalog, you get this dialog box that says the catalog, Andrea Livieri catalog, will be backed up. The backup only covers the catalog structure, metadata, and adjustments. No original images are backed up. So keep that in mind. This backup process is good for everything but the original raw files. And then it even tells you the location where you can store and find that backup in case something goes wrong. And then you can also optimize the catalog and test the integrity at the same time. All you got to do is click on backup. It's really quick. I highly recommend choosing also a different hard drive and a dedicated folder to back up your catalog. Since we are using a reference catalog system, so your original raw files live on an external hard drive, then not only do you have to run the catalog backup as we have just seen, you have to make sure that your masters are being backed up as well. There are many programs on the market to back up those masters on a regular basis, so make sure to take care of this key step to not lose any of your images, because for a photographer, that's one of the worst things that can happen, and we don't want that to happen. I hope that you now feel more confident in your understanding of the Capture One application and how it can work for you to set a very strong foundation for your photo management. Now, if you want to move further and learn more about photo editing, there is a very interesting video I did a while ago on how to improve dimensionality in your landscape images that you must see. And I'm gonna put that right here. Check it out right now and see you in the next one. Ciao.